on youth issues. And the data told a story of massive economic, demographic, and social shifts that have dramatically altered the landscape for Canadian youth. And they also discovered a major issue. The predictable path that guided the lives of our parents' generation is gone. Canadian youth are growing up in an era of complexity and uncertainty. They put together a short video, and it showed us that growing up in the 70s looked something like this, a pretty straightforward, linear path. On the other hand, growing up in today's world looks more like this. The St. John Region's Youth Vital Sign Project started as a way to check in with our youth and see how they were doing, hear what they had to say. The questions, indicator areas, and priorities that made up the survey itself were put forward by youth in our community, and then the survey was distributed to high schools. Over 4,385 students from across the St. John region were surveyed. And once the surveys were filled out and returned to the Community Foundation is where I came in on the project. I had just started working as a researcher for the St. John Human Development Council, and it was my job to enter the surveys. Although thankfully I did have some help, and then analyze the data. I'm sure no one here will have any trouble believing this, because who wouldn't want to enter hundreds and hundreds of 13-page surveys? But I actually really enjoyed doing it. Youth were asked to grade the St. John region when it came to 8 different areas of life. And I wanted to give you a quick overview of the numbers that came out of this. So here are the 8 indicator areas. Now, as you can see, arts and recreation got the highest mark, followed by transportation and belonging and community, and homelessness and poverty received the lowest mark. When the results were in, the numbers made it clear that action is needed. But the written responses also highlighted a lot of things that are working well in our community, and they were a testament to the value and insight of our youth's voice. The youth put forward tons of sincere and constructive suggestions for improving our region. They're enthusiastic, capable, and want to be a part of shaping the future of their city, and they should be. They were asked what they think is working well in the St. John region when it came to each of these 8 indicator areas. And here are some of the examples. The last one, about education, represents a cross-cutting theme throughout the surveys, and also from the talks here today. Youth don't feel like they're getting a chance to find out what interests them, to figure out where they fit in. They want the chance to find out what they're passionate about and pursue that, and to express themselves. The fact that a lot of youth feel like they weren't getting a chance to do this came out in some of their responses. It also came out that they feel pressured to follow that same linear path that their parents followed. But then again, I guess I can see where someone from our parents' generation might be coming from. This is the path that they know. It's familiar to them. It worked for them. Everything else is unfamiliar and uncertain. I think we can all agree that we want what's best for the people we care about, right? But what does that even mean? We never stop to ask, I was thinking about what the word best means to us, and today I think it's equated with what's easiest, safest, and least risky. But I decided to look it up, since I do think it's a word that gets thrown at youth a lot. People are always trying to tell us what's best for us. So there were 23 definitions of the word best in the Collins English Dictionary that I used to prop up my monitor, which I dug out because I wanted something official for this. And one of them was best. Most suitable, advantageous, desirable, attractive. The best way. And I thought this applied to how the word is used when youth are being told what they should do, as in with their lives or in terms of an education or a job or a career. But we never stop to ask why or what. And I think the answer to why that linear path would be the best way would end up being something like, well, it's just how you do things, or it's what worked for me. But we've already established that that linear path doesn't exist anymore. The other question was what. what exactly? Are we trying to get a good job so we can make lots of money? I guess a lot of people would probably say yes to that. But making money isn't an end in itself. And after our basic needs are met, neither is buying things with that money. So why do we do it? The Dalai Lama would tell us that all people just want to be happy and to avoid suffering. So maybe the idea was, for our parents' generation, that if you followed that path and got an education or the right training and a good job, then you could make enough money to do what made you happy in your free time. Well, on top of the fact that linear path no longer exists, people are working longer and longer hours, but have less disposable income on top of less free time. So even though that path doesn't exist anymore, youth are still feeling pressured to follow it. But if there are no guarantees that if we play it safe, we'll be set for life, and we're going to spend more and more time working, shouldn't we do everything we can to make sure we're working at something we love, or at the very least enjoy? I recently read a quote by best-selling author Dennis Waitley that said, "A dream is your creative vision for your life in the future. You must break out of your current comfort zone and become comfortable with the unfamiliar and the unknown. In order to pursue a career, in order to pursue what you love as a career, most of the time you have to be comfortable with uncertainty. But the thing is, for this generation, the only thing that's certain is that things are going to be uncertain." There was another definition of the word best that I thought was relevant here. It said, "the most effective effort of which a person or group is capable." But the reason it stood out to me was because of the example that came after. Even their best was inadequate. None of us wants to be the person from this example. Nobody wants to give something their all and put themselves out there and then fail. When I was entering the surveys, there was a particular comment related to this idea of being able to follow your own path that really stuck with me. Under the Employment and Education section, one student wrote that we need to make sure our kids know that they can do whatever they want. If they want to be a painter or a writer, that we should tell them that they can do that if they're honestly ready to put the work into it. That money doesn't matter as long as they do what makes them happy. When I read this, I felt so helpless and useless, sitting at my desk, clicking away at my computer. I wanted to find the student that had written this and tell them that they can do whatever they want, and they should take their passion and their creativity and turn it into a job. Especially since, when you read the news, this young people today that are going out and turning what they love into a career and into a job are the success stories in these tough economic times when so many young people are struggling. In preparation for today, I listened to a few TED Talks, and one of them really resonated with me. It was by David Kelly, and it was called "How to Build Your Creative Confidence." His message was that the world is not divided into creative and non-creative people, but that we are all creative. That so many of us had a moment, sometime in our past, probably in our childhood, where our creativity got shut down or criticized. So we said, "That's it, I'm not creative." Because we didn't want to be rejected or judged if people didn't like what we came up with. I did it. I said, "I'm not artistic or creative." And in fact, I equated the two. I thought that because I'm not a painter or I can't play a musical instrument, that meant I wasn't creative. Sometimes I had ideas that were original or different, but I really didn't feel like that made me creative. More like crazy. But David Kelly had worked with countless people that had decided they were not creative, and his bottom line was that we are all creative, even if we just need a little bit of a push or a little help realizing it. Stretching out of our comfort zone is scary. We get used to staying within it because it's safe, and we don't want to be vulnerable. And we especially don't want to be vulnerable to people we don't feel that we can trust. According to a recent UNICEF report, only 58.2% of children in Canada find their classmates kind and helpful. 79.3% find it easy to talk to their mothers, and 62.6% find it easy to talk to their fathers. If we look at these findings, along with some of the key findings from the Generation Flux report, we find that youth are growing up in an uncertain and changing landscape. That a lot of them don't feel like they can talk to their parents about it. And most of them don't feel like they can trust their peers either. Bring in feeling like you're being discouraged from following your own path, which was reflected in some of the answers to our local survey, and that's some pretty heavy stuff that our youth are dealing with. As a community, we need to make sure that our youth feel inspired. We need to foster their creativity, not smother it. And as youth, we need to support each other and encourage each other, not put each other down. We need to get rid of this idea that somehow someone else's success is our failure. We're all connected. We can succeed together or fail separately. The National Generation Flux report found that 75% of Canadians ages 12 to 19 reported the highest level of attachment to community. On our local survey, belonging in community was the indicator that received the fewest grades of below average or fail. St. John has a strong sense of community. But from entering the surveys, I got the sense that our youth feel like they're being pulled in two different directions. On the one hand, St. John is a city with a rich history, beautiful architecture, friendly people, and it's surrounded by amazing natural beauty. But on the other hand, youth don't feel like they're getting the chance to genuinely express themselves and find where they fit in, to follow their own path. Our population is aging, and with youth unemployment at 20% in New Brunswick, young people are headed west in search of jobs or bigger cities where they feel like they're going to be able to find out where they fit in. But we need our young people here, and we need them here because they want to be here. A lot of respondents said that we needed more alternative and diverse options for youth when it comes to arts, sports, and other recreational activities. Youth want the chance to explore their options and find out what interests them. And we need to encourage youth to engage and take a leadership role in shaping those extracurricular activities so that they meet the needs of the current generation. And to take a leadership role when it comes to building on our rich history so that St. John can be all that it can be in today's world, where people are so connected and informed. People can learn more, do more, and be more, and they're demanding more out of life. Yes, these are tough economic times. And yes, unemployment is an issue in New Brunswick and in St. John. Clearly, we need to create more jobs. But what we cannot afford to do is approach these issues the same way we've approached them over and over again in the past. We need to approach them in a way that makes St. John a vibrant city where youth want to be, not a city that alienates them. We asked students if they saw themselves living and working in the St. John region 10 years from now, and only 32% of respondents said yes. We have to change that. Our new mayor wants St. John to lead our province and be a true Renaissance city, a sentiment that I think is shared by a lot of the population. I know that St. John can do it. The potential's there. I see it every day. But if we're going to realize that potential, it's the energy, creativity, and drive of our youth that are going to get us there. They can't do it if they never get the chance. Youth need to be empowered. They have to feel like their voices are heard, their contributions are valued, and that they can make a difference. Yes, youth are leaders of tomorrow, but they can and should also be leaders today. We all have something to offer, but sometimes we need a little bit of help to take those first steps out of our comfort zone and into the unknown. Sometimes we need a little bit of encouragement to build up the confidence to let ourselves